I did a video that I think all of you, it gives you insight for you guys that aren't really familiar with me in terms of what I do outside of this space. But there's a lot of people that came to me by way of what I had accomplished in the music side with metalcore and being in that scene. And I did a video during I think it was like right in the heat of the summer of love. And I talk about how all of these loser punk and metal bands, really all they do is co-sign anything that is authoritarian left. And they don't, this whole like fight the power, taking it to the man, all that's just gimmicky kind of like that lyric I said, and what was it? Self-Ownership, I think was the song where I said it like, you're like an edgy teenager. Or was it, it might have not been Self-Ownership, one of those songs, but that was what I was referring. Those are the type of people that I'm referring to that, you know, it's like, hey, I'm against the system and all this sort of stuff. And really all you do is co-sign anything. You have no problem with acts of aggression by way of the state. So as long as they do it in your name. And that's to be expected with and go watch that video, but that's to be expected with the whole Roe overturning or reversal rather, which it's funny how they worded it like, oh, this means government are ruling over women's bodies, when actually what it did was the opposite. If you think about not what you think will happen out of it, but think about it in its context. Actually, it's the opposite. It's the federal government saying that we're not going to regulate women's bodies. That's actually what the reversal, and from the nitty gritty, what the reversal of Roe actually means. But they, of course, don't put two and two together. They tell people that are, or rather, they do what they're told. Let's just be honest with it. They do what they're told. Okay, they're not about liberty. They're not about freedom or anything. It's just, okay, the authoritarian left said this is the thing to be mad about, so this is what we're gonna do. We're going to tell you guys to spend money on our merch so we can funnel funds to Black Lives Matter, Marxist organization, which did nothing but piss away the money and buy a bunch of mansions and other deals as well, lacing up family members and stuff. Had nothing to do with actually, I don't know, trying to prevent police from killing black men. It's almost as if that had nothing to do with it, but didn't stop these metalcore little baby bands and all of that from doing that sort of stuff. We're seeing it again with Roe. All these bands coming. You shouldn't listen to, and by the way, much obliged. I will listen to you in the event that you say, well, if you don't like, or if you, let's say, or you think it's like a net positive is really what they'll say. Something along those lines. The Roe overturning, then don't listen to our music. I'm like, all right, well, cool. All right, I got you. Roger that. And ain't no sense of giving the money to entertainers that don't like me, you know what I mean, for one. But, same thing. They're good for that. They do that all the time. And I knew that this was going to happen. So a lot of people in our metalcore say, oh, women's bodies and women's rights and all this other stuff, even though this is not a discussion. This is about that. I've said that many, many times. I would encourage you, if you are going to engage in arguing with these mentally handicapped people, I would encourage you to reject the premise, because they keep throwing this women's bodies stuff. That's not what's being argued right here. The point is, and it is about bodily autonomy. It's about bodily autonomy of the child. Now, if you don't believe that literal person that's in that woman's belly is a child, all right, well, let's have that discussion. But what you can't say is that one has to simply agree with you on this, or they reject bodily autonomy. It's precisely the opposite. So start rejecting the premise, by the way. Nonetheless, there's one man, and I will give him props because I consider him a good friend. I respect this man so much because he's the one person that's in my scene that has a prominent following that does not care what these deranged leftists are going to say. He keeps doing what he does, and he does it unapologetically. He's unapologetically libertarian, and that is my man, Phil Labonte. Phil Labonte of All That Remains. Double it down, because that's my man's, and that's what we do. Loudwire. By the way, Loudwire has covered my band. I think it was an op-ed that I wrote that Loudwire published, and I had to raise hell for them to even consider that perspective, right? During the Summer of Love, if y'all don't remember this story, during the Summer of Love, Loudwire, sitting here engaging with all of these bands, right? They got black members and they all have the same thing. Even though Loudwire has covered my band, even though not even just that they covered, they had some like, this was back when they would do those weekly like contests or whatever. We like, I can't remember if it was statism or if it was self-ownership. Either way, we won like each week and they had to retire us. So they're very well knowledgeable on who we were, right? I don't have a proper position. Never got even mentioned. I am one of there's not a lot of, there's a couple of us that are out there, but in the metalcore scene, there's only a handful of bands that have black frontmen. I'm one of them. You think they'd be like, oh, well, let's hear what he has to say about this whole Black Lives Matter and all that. Nope. Until I raised hell, and that's when they published that op-ed. Loudwire, though, is a leftist metal punk hardcore alternative music publication, much like the other ones that have covered us, from the Loudwires of the world, the Metal Sucks, and all of those little cornballs out there. They're all just authoritarian leftists. And I love this from my mans because, of course, they published Phil saying Labonte must be competing for the most idiotic and useless take on the internet today. Because he quote tweeted some chick saying, what do you think will happen if Roe v. Wade is overturned? And my man Phil said, hoes will be mad. I mean, was he wrong? In the words of Walter from Big LeBron, am I wrong? No, he's not wrong. And instead of being like what most metal cats would do in the event that these weird publication or these crackhead little metal fans, what they'll say, they come out and say, oh, I apologize for all of this. I am sorry. He doubled down. My man Phil said 9 out of 10 hoes and Loudwire agree. They be mad. That's how you handle these weirdos. I love Phil, man. I love him to death. We've had him on the show. You can go listen to, I can't remember the episode number, but go listen to that. Again, I respect this man so much. There's not that many in this scene, in this metalcore scene. There's not that many like libertarians in there anyway. They're all authoritarian leftists for the most part. Bernie Sanders supporting little dipsticks. And for the most part, the ones that aren't feel like they have to remain silent because of this. Like they'll see this and they would have a heart attack. If your little favorite metalcore bands, if they woke up to something like this and them being negatively covered by some little weirdos on social media, they would fold, right? Phil isn't one of them. I ain't one. I remember when that was Straight from the Path. They came out with that Good Night Alt-Right. It was a corny song, man. Like just corny as fuck. And all I said was like sigh or something like that, and they quoting me all in the it was alternative press. They alt press, excuse me. They covered me saying that, and people made a big deal out of it. It's like that's all I said. It was like sigh. That's all I said. But that's what they do. Like they don't like you. Like, you know, these little dudes hate me. They always hated us in this genre, man. They make they do these videos that be like, oh, Backwards is the cringiest band of all time, and they'll put one of our hit songs like that has millions of views. that one of our more popular says to one of the cringiest songs of all that. They always consider us in those playlists, and it has nothing to do with the music being bad. Of course, it has everything to do with the fact that, well, we're in the metalcore scene, metalcore, hardcore. We float around that scene, and we're not leftists. And we do it unapologetically. Like me and Alex, who were basically the voices of the band, do it unapologetically. But you saw this as well, actually. This is, of course, more pop punk stuff. Green Day's, let me go here. Billy Joe Armstrong says he's renouncing his U.S. citizenship. He's not going to do that, by the way. None of them are. It's 2016 all over. Everybody was going to be moving to Canada, and none of them moved to Canada when Trump got elected. Right now, I have a bunch of people saying, what market? I said this earlier on Twitter. Look, I don't for once believe that the weirdos, ironically, that came from these leftist hellholes that they ran into the ground anyway, okay? I don't for once believe that they're going to leave Texas, but you saw a lot of tweets and stuff of them saying that, well, we're gonna leave Texas, or I'm like, look, I don't believe that y'all gonna do that, but if that means y'all gonna take the trash, like, the trash is basically taking itself out at this point, I welcome it. Good luck. But he's not going anywhere. He's not renouncing his citizenship for that reason. And again, I'm more libertarian than all these weirdos that say stuff like that. So yeah, of course, I wouldn't want an entity, I guess, ruling over everybody like that as well. But that's not what the Supreme Court ruling was anyway. It had nothing to do with it. And these guys think that they inflate how actual important they are. Look, I believe that entertainment is important because I think it's culturally relevant, and if you neglect it, you end up with what we have now. And basically, no pocket of the entertainment space isn't ran by a bunch of leftists. That's what happens when you neglect or you ignore entertainment and stuff. But with the same respects, like definitely in this day and age where we're starting to see a lot more alternatives, people are doing things, seeing a lot of success, being unapologetically who they are. You've seen musicians pop up, especially rap artists that have popped up, and I've seen a lot of success being completely detached from the mainstream. So when you are like, yeah, I'm going to leave, like, okay, who is going to be begging you to stay? Billy Joel? Like, who is going to be like, yeah, oh my God, please don't leave America? Like, okay, like, you're not that important. The entertainment is important, but you're not that important if you understand where I'm coming from. So this is awesome that we're seeing this, and it proves what it is that I have been saying about these metal and punk. You can basically believe that unless stated otherwise, they're probably compromised. The ones that aren't compromised are the ones that are stating otherwise, or they're completely silent on political issues. You might as well assume that they're like not with the leftist bullcrap. But for the most part, metal is metal has a sub genres. It's not just metalcore. It's even more traditional metal. If it's not maybe like Viking metal or something like that. Aside from that, or maybe there's some like more foreign like thrash or stuff. But aside from that, definitely the American and other Western kind of metal, like for the most part, it's, for lack of better terms, cucked. I hate to use that term, but I don't know what else to call it. These guys don't believe any of that fist in the air, fight the powers that be, all that. They don't believe any of that stuff. Anti-authoritarian, they don't believe any of that stuff. That's all a edgy gimmick, you know what I mean? For the most part, when it's all said and done, they will take whatever side the authoritarian left tells them to take. So there's that. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.